I don't know if I am or not. I don't want to be the person I was, but I don't know, change comes in time. Change comes really in time. You're irritating me now.
You ever throw punches in your sleep just thinking about somebody? Mike Tyson did, probably more than once. In this video, Iron Mike finally calls out the 5 fighters who got under his skin the most. No holding back, no sugarcoating, just raw honesty, Tyson style. But let's also take a quick look at the life that brought him into the ring with those fighters. Brooklyn boy. Before Mike Tyson was the heavyweight champ, he was just a kid in Brownsville trying to survive a rough world with a voice people mocked and fists that did the talking. Born June 30th, 1966 in Brooklyn, Tyson's early life wasn't exactly built for success. He came from a chaotic family tree, including a mother struggling to hold things together and 2 different men listed as father figures. One of those was a cab driver, the other a street hustler who vanished just as Tyson entered the world. His mother, Lorna May, did what she could, but after the family was forced to move to Brownsville due to financial struggles, things only got harder. Violence followed Tyson like a shadow. One of his earliest fights, beating up a kid who killed his pet pigeon? Yeah, that's how deep the hurt ran. By 13, he'd already racked up 38 arrests and was sent to a juvenile detention facility. But that's where everything shifted. A former boxer named Bobby Stewart noticed Tyson's natural power and introduced him to legendary trainer Cus D'Amato. It was more than mentorship. D'Amato became the father Tyson never really had. By the time his mother passed away when he was just 16, Tyson was already knee-deep in boxing. And while he later said her death didn't affect his career, the emotional damage was permanent. "She never saw me do anything good," he said. The fighter the world came to know was built from pain, muscle, and survival instincts sharper than a left hook. Amateur hour and early career. Imagine being 18 and already hitting so hard that grown men are quitting before the bell finishes echoing. That was Mike Tyson. Before he was a household name, Tyson was stacking amateur wins like trophies on a shelf. He grabbed gold in back-to-back Junior Olympic Games, crushing Joe Cortez in 1981 and forcing Kelton Brown's team to wave the white flag early in 1982. By 1984, he had added a Golden Gloves win to the pile, taking down Jonathan Littles in New York. Not every fight was a victory, though. He dropped 2 decisions to Henry Tillman, who later snagged Olympic gold that same year. Still, Tyson's raw power was impossible to ignore. Then came the pros. Tyson stepped into the ring for the first time as a pro in March 1985, knocking out Hector Mercedes in the first round, and he didn't stop. That first year alone, he fought 15 times and steamrolled most of his opponents. In fact, out of his first 28 fights, 26 were wins by knockout or technical knockout, and 16 of those over in the first round. His competition got tougher over time, with opponents like James Tillis and Mitch Green trying and failing to stop the hype train. Tyson was rising fast, but behind the scenes, his mentor and legal guardian, Cus D'Amato, passed away that same year. For many, that loss marked the beginning of a new chapter for Tyson, one where chaos often stepped into the ring right alongside him. Going pro. If you blinked, you probably missed it. Tyson wasn't just knocking people out. He was setting new records for how fast he could do it. Mike Tyson's first fight on national TV came in 1986 against Jesse Ferguson. The match aired on ABC, and Tyson brought the kind of violence that didn't need commentary. In round 5, he landed a brutal uppercut that shattered Ferguson's nose. By round 6, Ferguson was doing more hugging than boxing, and the ref had seen enough. Originally ruled a disqualification win, Tyson's team pushed for a technical knockout instead to keep that KO streak alive, and they got it. From there, Tyson went on a wrecking spree. One of his most memorable early fights came just a few months later against Marvis Frazier, son of legend Joe Frazier. Tyson didn't even break a sweat. There were 2 quick uppercuts, and Frazier was out cold in half a minute. Viewers were still sitting down with popcorn when the fight ended. Then came Jose Ribalta. This one went longer and hurt more for Tyson. Ribalta took everything Tyson threw and still kept swinging. Tyson knocked him down 3 times before the referee finally stepped in. Later, Tyson admitted Ribalta was the toughest man he'd faced. But the biggest moment came on November 22, 1986. Tyson took on Trevor Berbick and claimed the WBC heavyweight belt with a second-round TKO, becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history. Title period. It was the punch that silenced the world. Mike Tyson, the wrecking machine, was flat on his back. But before that shocking moment in Tokyo, Tyson was pure dominance wrapped in gloves. By 1987, Tyson was on a mission: unify the heavyweight division. He took James Smith's WBA title in a decision win that fans weren't exactly thrilled about. Tyson wanted knockouts, not paperwork. A few months later, he delivered just that, crushing Pinklon Thomas in round 6. Then came Tony Tucker in August. It went the distance, but Tyson walked out holding all 3 major belts, WBA, WBC, and IBF, like boxing's version of a clean sweep. That same year, he handed Tyrell Biggs a brutal 7th-round loss, steamrolling the Olympic champ. Tyson was everywhere, even on game consoles. Nintendo dropped Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and it flew off the shelves. Not bad for a guy who couldn't even rent a car at the time. He kicked off 1988 by stopping boxing legend Larry Holmes. Holmes had never been knocked out before. 2 months later, he dropped Tony Tubbs in Tokyo, but the real fireworks came in June against Michael Spinks. The hype was real. The fight lasted 91 seconds. But fame came with fallout. His marriage with Robin Givens crumbled. He cut ties with longtime trainer Kevin Rooney, and by 90, it showed. Against Buster Douglas, Tyson looked unprepared. Douglas, a massive underdog, knocked Tyson out in round 10. The king had fallen, and the world stood stunned. It was the upset no one saw coming, except maybe Douglas. Comeback. After his jaw-dropping loss to Buster Douglas in 1990, most fighters would have faded into the background. Not Tyson. He called it the most important moment of his career. That defeat, he claimed, forced him to reflect, grow, and change, not just as a boxer, but as a man. Tyson roared back with quick finishes, including a first-round knockout of Henry Tillman, finally settling the score after losing to him twice as an amateur. He followed it up by stopping Alex Stewart in just over 2 minutes. The comeback was in motion. In 91, Tyson faced Razor Ruddock, a powerhouse many thought could take him out. The first bout ended with the ref stepping in during round 7, a move that caused a near riot. Fans weren't having it. Tyson and Ruddock ran it back just months later. Tyson dropped him twice and won a unanimous decision. The rematch proved Tyson wasn't done. He was supposed to meet Evander Holyfield for the heavyweight crown later that year, but a rib injury sidelined him. Then, his world turned upside down. In 92, Tyson was convicted of rape and sentenced to prison. He served 3 years. When he came back in 95, it was to massive pay-per-view numbers and brutal knockouts. Peter McNeely didn't even last 90 seconds. The legend was back, but the chaos never left. Tyson's career was now a mix of glory, controversy, and headlines that had little to do with boxing, and it was far from over. Retirement. In June 2005, after 6 grueling rounds against Kevin McBride, Tyson shocked fans not with a punch, but by calling it quits before round 7 even began. It wasn't his opponent that broke him, it was everything else. Years later, Tyson admitted he stepped into that ring knowing he wasn't in fighting shape, mentally or physically. The bout was a paycheck, not a passion project. After losing 3 of his last 4 fights, the former champ finally admitted what many had long suspected. His love for the sport was gone. The fighter once feared worldwide was officially done with boxing, but the headlines didn't stop. Between financial messes and legal issues, Tyson's post-ring life stayed chaotic. In one jaw-dropping revelation from his 2013 autobiography, he confessed to using his wife's and even his child's urine to cheat drug tests. Let that sink in. Despite his retirement, Tyson couldn't stay away forever. In 2020, he squared off in an exhibition with Roy Jones Jr., going 8 rounds in a fight that ended in a split draw. Then in 24, Tyson made the wildest move yet, agreeing to a real fight with YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul. The event was delayed due to health issues, but the rescheduled bout finally happened. Tyson lost by unanimous decision. He may not have left the ring a winner, but Mike Tyson never stopped swinging, even when life hit harder than any opponent. Fighters he hated. When it comes to grudges, Mike Tyson didn't just hold them. He body slammed them into the spotlight. From trash talkers to cheap shot artists, Iron Mike had a short list of fighters who really got under his skin. Let's take a look at the 5 guys who pushed Tyson's buttons the hardest. Razor Ruddock. In the early 90s, Mike Tyson had one name circled in red: Donovan Razor Ruddock. This wasn't your average pre-fight beef with a side of trash talk. This was a full-on, bad blood grudge match, and it happened twice. Tyson had just returned to the ring after losing his titles in a shocking upset to Buster Douglas. Ruddock, meanwhile, was rising fast and hitting even faster. Known for his devastating power punches, Ruddock wasn't intimidated by Tyson's reputation. That alone made him a marked man. Their first clash in March '91 was chaos in gloves. Tyson came out throwing bombs, and Ruddock answered right back. The ref waved it off in the 7th after 2 stoppages, giving Tyson the win by TKO. But fans weren't having it. The crowd booed, Ruddock's corner fumed, and the fighters' teams actually started swinging at each other post-fight. Imagine the weigh-in energy of 2 bulls in a china shop. That was the rematch setup. 3 months later, the two met again. This time, it went the distance. Brutal, punishing rounds. Tyson walked away with the win, but Ruddock earned something just as meaningful: his respect. Tyson had thrown everything at him, including some less than legal shots. Ruddock stayed upright and swinging. Before those fights, Tyson didn't hold back. He mocked Ruddock in the media, calling him soft and undeserving. But years later, Tyson's tone shifted. In interviews, he referred to Ruddock as one of the toughest men he ever faced, praising his grit, his power, and his refusal to back down. "He came to win," Tyson said with honest admiration. And that's the thing about Iron Mike. He might come out swinging with hate, but he leaves the ring with respect. Evander Holyfield. You can't mention Mike Tyson without someone bringing up the bite. But the feud between Tyson and Evander Holyfield was far more than just an infamous chomp. It was a storm of egos, expectations, and raw, emotional warfare. Before they ever touched gloves in a professional bout, the boxing world was buzzing about a clash between Tyson and Holyfield. They were destined to collide, 2 juggernauts of their era, but fate and a prison sentence delayed that moment for years. By the time they finally stepped into the ring in '96, the tension had marinated into something combustible. Tyson, still riding high on his comeback momentum, expected to bulldoze Holyfield, but what he got instead was a masterclass in grit and strategy. Holyfield wasn't intimidated. He stood toe-to-toe and outworked Tyson over 11 brutal rounds, ultimately forcing a stoppage that stunned fans and left Tyson dazed and defeated. But it wasn't just the loss that stung. It was how Tyson perceived it. He believed Holyfield was playing dirty, using headbutts to gain an edge. With no calls from the ref, Tyson felt cornered, disrespected, and burning with fury. By the time the rematch rolled around in '97, Tyson was a man on edge. Round 3 would go down in sports infamy. With the referee again ignoring what Tyson believed were deliberate headbutts, he snapped, biting Holyfield's ear not once, but twice. One bite even tore off a chunk of flesh. The fight was stopped. Tyson was disqualified, and the world watched in disbelief. After the chaos, Tyson offered his own twisted reasoning. He felt violated and wanted to retaliate, but the fallout was catastrophic. His boxing license was yanked, his reputation further tarnished, and his rivalry with Holyfield reached nuclear levels. In interviews, Tyson called Holyfield a fake, a dirty fighter, and someone who didn't deserve respect. What made the feud so gripping was its complexity. As much as he loathed Holyfield's tactics, he couldn't deny the man's skill. Over the years, those inner contradictions began to show. Tyson, ever unpredictable, gradually dropped the venom and embraced something softer. By the late 2000s, the firestorm had cooled. In a moment that shocked fans nearly as much as the bite itself, Tyson and Holyfield appeared together on stage in 2009. Tyson publicly apologized. Holyfield accepted. They laughed, they hugged, and for a brief moment, the bad blood seemed like ancient history. But if you listen closely today, when Tyson speaks of Holyfield, you can still catch a trace of lingering bitterness. There's admiration, yes, but also a faint flicker of what if. Tyson has admitted, "He got the better of me, but I never liked how he fought." Their story goes beyond sports. It's not just about knockouts and championships. It's about betrayal, pride, and the long road to redemption. Tyson may have made peace with Holyfield, but the scars, both literal and emotional, never completely faded. In the end, this wasn't just a grudge match. It was a clash of two men who represented different types of greatness and carried different kinds of wounds. Their saga reminds us that forgiveness is possible, but forgetting, that's another fight entirely. Mitch Green. Few rivalries in Mike Tyson's explosive career were as raw, bizarre, and personal as his never-ending feud with Mitch "Blood" Green. If most of Tyson's enemies stayed in the ring, Green was the rare one who followed him into the streets, literally. Their bad blood began in 1986 when they clashed in a professional bout. Tyson, then an undefeated wrecking machine climbing toward championship gold, faced Green, a wild character known more for his mouth than his record. Inside the ropes, Tyson clearly dominated, winning every round and walking away with a clear decision. But there was one problem: Green stayed upright. That fact alone irritated Tyson, who thrived on finishing opponents, not letting them walk out still talking. And boy, did Green keep talking. Post-fight, Mitch Green launched a one-man media tour, claiming Tyson was scared of him, calling him a fraud, and blaming promoters for dodging a rematch. He popped up at pressers, jawed in interviews, and made it his mission to haunt Tyson's every step. Then came 1988. In what became the stuff of boxing folklore, Tyson showed up at a Harlem boutique to pick up a custom leather jacket. Out of nowhere, Mitch Green materialized. Tempers flared, words flew, and then fists. Tyson unleashed a punch that fractured Green's eye socket. Tyson, in turn, broke his hand so badly he had to cancel an upcoming fight. The street scuffle was front-page drama and added gasoline to a rivalry already on fire. Years later, Tyson still spoke of Green with a cocktail of humor and disgust. In interviews, he called him crazy, relentless, and even compared him to a stalker. Unlike Tyson's grudges with fighters like Ruddock or Holyfield, his feelings about Green never mellowed. There was no moment of reflection or respect, only lingering irritation. "He was the only guy who really got under my skin," Tyson once admitted. And that's what made their saga so different. Most boxing rivalries simmer down with time, but this one, it never cooled. For Tyson, Mitch Green was a living reminder of a fight that never really ended. In the end, their feud wasn't about titles or legacy. It was about ego, space, and Tyson's desperate need to silence a man who simply wouldn't stop talking. If boxing is often compared to war, then Mitch Green was the guerrilla fighter who refused to go away. And for Tyson, that may have been the biggest punch in the gut. Lennox Lewis. When it came to bad blood, Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis was a full-on psychological war. The tension between these two giants of the ring didn't start with trash talk or title belts. It began years earlier, when both were just hungry teens learning the ropes. For a moment in time, they trained under the same roof. But whatever camaraderie might have existed back then crumbled as their professional careers took off in wildly different directions. By the early 2000s, the animosity had matured into something venomous. Tyson saw Lewis as calculated and boring, a robotic tactician who represented everything Tyson's chaotic style rebelled against. And Tyson didn't keep those opinions to himself. In press events leading up to their highly anticipated 2002 showdown, he let the vitriol fly. From calling Lewis an embarrassment to the sport to unleashing explicit-laced tirades, Tyson was settling a score. And then came the press conference. At a New York media event, things exploded. Tyson charged at Lewis mid-face-off, triggering an all-out brawl. Chaos reigned, punches were thrown, and, in one of the strangest moments in boxing history, Tyson bit Lewis's leg. The melee stunned the world and cemented the feud as personal, not promotional. When they finally met in the ring that June, Tyson was past his prime, and it showed. Lewis stayed composed, using his reach, jab, and size to systematically wear Tyson down. By the 8th round, Lewis landed a clean shot that ended it. Tyson hit the canvas, and with that, the rivalry, at least in the ring, was over. Tyson's post-fight demeanor was subdued. He admitted defeat, acknowledged Lewis's dominance that night, but didn't offer glowing praise. The loss stung, and for years, Tyson rarely mentioned Lewis without a trace of resentment in his voice. It wasn't until much later that Tyson began to ease up. In documentaries and podcast conversations, he eventually referred to Lewis as a worthy opponent and a skilled champion. He even credited the experience with teaching him valuable lessons about humility and control. Still, there was always an edge to those reflections, a hint that this loss haunted him more than most. Unlike some of Tyson's rivalries, his feud with Lewis never quite morphed into warmth. There were no heartfelt embraces or romantic soundbites in the aftermath. It remained tense, complicated, and bruised with unresolved emotion. For Tyson, Lewis was a reminder of what might have been. The bout didn't just mark a physical defeat. It represented a turning point, the undeniable signal that Tyson's time at the top was over. And that, more than the knockout itself, was the real sting. In the lore of boxing, the Tyson-Lewis rivalry remains one of the most intense. A collision of styles, egos, and history, their story went far beyond the ropes. It was pride versus precision, fire versus ice. And even though the gloves came off decades ago, the echoes of that rivalry still linger. Muhammad Ali. Mike Tyson didn't just want to be like Muhammad Ali, he wanted to be loved like Ali. But living in the shadow of your idol can twist admiration into something far more complicated. For Tyson, Ali was never just another name in boxing folklore. He was the name. Growing up in Brooklyn with chaos all around him, young Tyson found structure, purpose, and even hope in watching the greatest float like a butterfly on grainy tapes. Under the guidance of his legendary trainer Cus D'Amato, Tyson studied Ali like scripture. D'Amato constantly referenced Ali as the prototype of greatness, planting the seed in Tyson's mind. This is who you chase. And chase he did. Tyson blitzed through opponents, captured titles at lightning speed, and became the youngest heavyweight champ in history. But while his fists conquered, his heart remained unsettled. No matter how many knockouts he tallied, or how terrified opponents were to stand across from him, Tyson felt like he could never crack Ali's code. Ali wasn't just respected, he was beloved. In a vulnerable interview with Joe Rogan, Tyson shared what many suspected but few expected him to say out loud. "I wanted people to love me like they loved Ali, but I knew they didn't." It wasn't a rivalry, it was reverence soaked in insecurity. Tyson openly admitted he felt jealousy, not because Ali was better in the ring, but because he lit up hearts in a way Tyson never could. The emotional roller coaster didn't end there. In one particularly raw moment, Tyson confessed, "I hated him because I wanted to be him." It was the aching resentment that crept in when your hero becomes a mirror, reflecting everything you fear you're not. Despite those complicated feelings, Ali played a surprisingly personal role in Tyson's early years. Before his fight with Larry Holmes in 1980, an aging and past his prime Ali reportedly told D'Amato, "Get Tyson ready, he'll take care of Holmes for me." And in 1988, a young and ferocious Tyson did exactly that. He steamrolled Holmes in 4 rounds, then publicly dedicated the win to Ali. It was one of the most symbolic moments in Tyson's career, an emotional baton pass soaked in both vengeance and devotion. Still, the inner conflict remained. While Ali was the smiling poet warrior with a cause, Tyson was the storm, explosive, unpredictable, often in legal and personal turmoil. Ali was welcomed into living rooms. Tyson was feared in back alleys. No matter how dominant he became, Tyson couldn't shake the feeling that he'd always be an outsider compared to Ali's mythic glow. In later years, as the volcanic Tyson cooled into a more introspective version of himself, his commentary on Ali softened. He referred to him as the greatest, not just in skill, but in spirit. And yet, even as he praised him, Tyson's words still carried the weight of someone who knew he never truly outran his own expectations. The story of Tyson and Ali isn't one of rivalry, it's a story of reverence, tainted by self-doubt. It reveals something profound. Even the most fearsome fighters can be emotionally bruised by the ghosts of greatness. Tyson may have thundered through the division with unmatched fury, but deep down, he was still a boy trying to win the affection of a crowd that loved someone else first. In the end, Tyson didn't just battle opponents, he battled the impossible standards set by his hero. And like so many of us, he had to learn that admiration doesn't always come without a shadow. Bonus: Floyd Mayweather. When Mike Tyson calls you delusional, you know the beef is real. And when that's aimed at Floyd Mayweather, boxing fans everywhere brace for impact. In the realm of heavyweight personalities and pound-for-pound legends, few shine brighter or clash harder than Tyson and Mayweather. Both have etched their names into boxing history, but instead of mutual respect, their relationship has been marked by tension, sharp digs, and a fundamental disagreement over what makes someone the best. At the heart of the friction is Mayweather's self-appointed title, TBE, the best ever. Tyson, never one to bite his tongue, has made it clear he finds that claim laughable. In multiple interviews, Tyson has mocked Mayweather's nickname, labeling it arrogant and out of touch. According to Tyson, greatness isn't something you declare about yourself. It's earned, remembered, and decided by others. In his view, history writes the titles, not Instagram bios. What really grinds Tyson's gears, though, is what he sees as a lack of humility. He's voiced frustration over Mayweather's attitude toward the legends who paved the way, often defending the likes of Ali, Joe Louis, and Sugar Ray Robinson with the passion of a proud historian. Tyson's message is simple. If you're going to wear the crown, pay tribute to the kings who came before you. And then there's the matter of competition. Tyson's not shy about criticizing Mayweather's choice of opponents, suggesting he built his spotless 50-0 record by selecting safe bets rather than daring challenges. He beat guys who were already fading, Tyson once quipped. That's not legacy, that's insurance. Their styles inside the ring also couldn't be more different. Tyson was a brawler with thunder in his gloves, explosive, relentless, and brutal. Mayweather is a master technician, slick, strategic, and almost impossible to hit clean. While Tyson has acknowledged Floyd's skill, he's also dismissed it as uninspiring, saying it doesn't ignite the same fire or change the game the way Tyson believes true greats do. There's also the not-so-small matter of fan loyalty. Tyson fans love grit, chaos, and raw emotion. Mayweather's followers admire brains, precision, and unblemished stats. The two camps constantly square off online, each swearing their guy is the real icon. Tyson hasn't exactly helped cool things down. He's openly said, "Floyd's good, but he's not great, not like the ones who took real risks." Oof, that one left a mark. But this isn't just about boxing mechanics. Tyson once took things further in a heated rant, questioning Mayweather's very toughness. "He can't even walk his kids to school alone," Tyson barked, referencing Floyd's heavily guarded lifestyle. "How can you be the greatest?" In Tyson's world, being the best means more than staying undefeated. It means taking hits, taking chances, and facing danger with no safety net. Still, for all the jabs, there's a complex layer underneath. Tyson doesn't deny Mayweather's ability. He rejects the narrative that skill alone defines legacy. For Tyson, greatness involves more than winning. It's about impact, courage, and character. So, when you stack these two titans side by side, it's not just a style clash, it's a clash of philosophies. Tyson, the wild storm who charged headfirst into danger, versus Mayweather, the chess master who avoided the storm altogether. Both were dominant, both were elite, but only one, in Tyson's eyes, earned the kind of immortality that doesn't need to be claimed. It's just known.
And that, in the end, might be the most Tyson-esque critique of all. If you have to say you're the best, maybe you're not.
From knockouts to callouts, Tyson's rivalries were as fierce outside the ring as they were inside. If you enjoyed diving into the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss another round of wild stories.